Hey everybody, today for the 100th episode, we are going to talk about what it's like to be a CFP, a financial advisor. I get this question a whole lot, and I want to shed some light onto what it looks like to peek behind the scenes into my life as a financial advisor. Let's go. So I'd say each day is a little different. I essentially have my hand in about two businesses right now. And we'll talk about the first one, which is 𝐷𝐞𝐻 Capital Management. And then I help with a marketing company to market to financial advisors. So that's the scope of a different podcast. We'll talk about that later, maybe. But I really want to get into what it's like to be a certified financial planner in today's society and what are some of the things that I do. We'll talk about how I do that, like the mechanism by which I can do that and what actually I do. So let's take the how first. So there are basically two types of avenues you can go down when it comes to financial advice. And let me give you that first before I talk about how I chose to do it. So in the financial advisor world, you can choose to be either captive, which means a lot of things, which basically gives you the Series 7, Series 66, all these different licenses that are regulated and given to you by FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. A lot of advisors don't like that, and I'm one of those. They don't like the amount of compliance and the amount of regulation that goes with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just a totally different structure where you have broker dealers and people report up to the broker dealer, and there's different, that's a different animal altogether. And what I would generally say, that's an okay start in the business. It's easy to get in that way. But as you become more what we would call a financial professional and more of an advocate of the industry, you probably want to get towards more of the fee only or fee related type of services that you're going to find on the independent channel, which is the second. So the independents, a registered investment advisor like myself, we register with the SEC or at the state level, but make no bones about it, we are under a federal mandate on how we are going to promulgate and give financial advice. So that is what it is on that side. I've chosen the independent channel for a lot of reasons. It allows me to be a little bit more flexible with how I market my services and the people I want to serve, and the money that I make from bringing people in. There are so many different what would be called layers between a financial advisor and the top level in the former model, the broker-dealer model, versus the independent model. So that's the reason why I chose to do what I do. And this has been 3 years running this August, and it's great. I love what I do, and I want to do it in a way that I feel that financial services should be rendered, right? There's a lot of different financial advisors out there. I think at last count, it was something like 400,000 that are in the United States. We're approaching 400,000. About 84,000 or so of those are CFPs, which I've chosen to be a certified financial planner and adhere to the ethics and the curriculum and the continuing education and all that kind of stuff that separates me from the pack a little bit in regards to what I believe in, how I'm going to render financial advice, and things of that nature. So that is the how. Let's talk about the what. Okay, what can really be broken down to three essential tasks for me. I would say prospecting, content creation, and client service. Now, anybody that is in this business that has not met their or reached their revenue goals, you should be prospecting, which means you're trying to find the type of people that you want to serve and you want to work with and that want to work with you, right? So I've basically chosen to, figure out this and then go after those people. And I spend a fair amount of my day following with people and seeing where they are at in the cycle of financial or the continuum of financial advice, right? They may be in the accumulating phase and they need help, or they may be in the distribution phase and they need help. Either way, I want to see if it's a good fit in regards to what I know how to do and what they actually want. So prospecting is one thing. Content creation. Now, you've got to have something that you can deliver of value so a person could figure out whether or not you're the right fit, right? So is this some type of video or a guide or a combination of the two, or a checklist or a quiz? You know, I'm always creating things like that allow for intrigue and allow for the dialogue and the conversation to begin so that we can start to engage and see if there's going to be a fit for what I do and what they want. And then last but not least, there's client service, right? So I have existing clients in my book, and they may call me up and say, hey, Dominique, I am getting ready to possibly change jobs. This is a recent example of mine that I have within my client base. And he's like, hey, I don't know if this is the best offer. Can you look through the benefits and can you tell me, you know, based on what I have right now with this current company and what they're offering, can you compare the two, tell me the pros and cons of each so I can kind of weigh a decision? That's something I deal with. Actually had a client that we're trying to accelerate his debt plan. So he's got some company stock or options for company stock. He's also got some assets he can sell. So it was like, you know, what order should I do this in? You know, give me some strategy on how to negotiate, you know, with this particular buyer that's interested in buying some assets from me on how I should do this and things of that nature. So really, if you're quarterbacking, which is kind of the role I look at myself as, if you're quarterbacking somebody's financial life, things come up that are scheduled and things that are unscheduled, all around what I feel is financial services and financial advice, which is how do you manage your cash flow, right? Money comes in and hits the bank account. What do you do with it? How do you get the most utility value out of your life? Second thing is, how do you invest that, right? What are your investments? How should they be positioned in regards to like your risk tolerance and your preference for return, and when you're trying to retire, if that is even on the roadmap for you right now? Do you have kids that go in college? Yada, yada, yada. Tax strategy. Are you paying more than your fair share? Like, what is your fair share? Are there ways to reduce the amount of liability that you have? So there's all different types of things that I put down, you know, on a pretty much a schedule or a calendar so that we can meet up, like I said, for some of those scheduled meetings. And then some of the stuff that is more ad hoc, we kind of handle that as it goes. But those are some of the things that we're just dealing with on an everyday basis. Or it's like, hey, Dominic, I've got a new bonus, or I'm leaving this job and I need to roll over my 401k into the IRA. What do we've already established, what do we do with that funds? Like, do we put it in this strategy or do we do this? So as a financial advisor, you're kind of piecing through all these different, you know, data points and helping people push along the narrative that we've created, right? We sat down together at one point, created a financial plan, and said that, okay, this goal number 1 and goal number 2 and goal number 3 and on and on and on are important to you, and in this order and this priority. And how we're going to get there is we're going to use this strategy and we're going to use this strategy, and we're going to combine these, and we're going to take this one away if this particular thing changes, or if this particular curveball is thrown to us, what do we do? So that's the job of a financial advisor. You've got to really, I would say it's so much relationship, and it's also a lot of trying to understand what the goal is. I specialize in goal articulation, right? So helping you get more clear about what you want and devising a clear path to help you get there faster and more efficiently than you would otherwise do if you tried to do it on your own. So I didn't really talk about investments, and it's a reason why I didn't do that. It's not because I don't deal with investments, and it's not because my clients don't have investments. It's because investments are a piece of what the whole pie is, right? So if I'm looking at a particular person's situation, they are obviously going to want to, you know, take a set amount of money, have it grow so that they can use it later or in the intermediate term or now. But the point is, this is such a small factor, right? How much of my day am I really dedicating towards going through what is happening in the markets, you know, keeping up with stocks, or even for that matter, different mutual fund companies. Some advisors have this as their, you know, I'll say the lion's share of their activity. I am not that person. I am a financial advisor that chooses to kind of center his practice around financial planning and financial advice. And underneath financial planning and financial advice is investments, is tax, is insurance, Is estate protection? Is budgeting? Yada, yada, yada. The list goes on and on. So I don't myopically focus on just one aspect of that, although it can be depending on where you are in the either accumulation or the decumulation / distribution phase. It just depends. And I just don't think it makes a lot of sense to put myself out there or market myself as this investment guru type person, or to even lead with that, because it all really starts with a conversation about where you want to go, what's important to you, and how are we going to get there. Maybe it's stocks, maybe it's bonds, maybe it's a combination of the two, maybe it's mutual funds, maybe you've had such a bad experience with both or all of those that you don't even want to talk about that right now. We've got so many other things that we need to address before we get to the investments. That's fine also. And so I kind of lead with a conversation, right, around the services and around how I even view financial services from my lens, right? Because if you don't view it the same way as I, or you can't get there, then we're probably not going to work well together. So I think if you're out there looking, or you're thinking about becoming a financial advisor, I have 2 pieces of advice for each one of those individuals. So if you're out there looking for a financial advisor, what you need to do is find somebody that you agree with on philosophy. How do they view investments? How do they view financial planning? How do they view financial services and the relationship between an advisor and a client? That's very important. Cross that bridge first before you start to think about, okay, how many clients do you have? How much money do you manage? Let me talk to some of your clients, or what was your performance last year? These are all things that, trust me, in 20 years, what I've found out are very small factors, or what we call table stakes. It's not the most important thing. If you want to think about the longevity of a relationship, like how you're going to get the most benefit and feel the best and the most certain about the outcome that you want, you got to find somebody that you agree with on philosophy. Otherwise, you're not going to trust their advice and the relationship's going to implode. Now, if you're thinking about coming into this industry, the very first thing I would say is spend some time working for somebody and cutting your teeth. There's so many areas you can go into when it comes to financial advice, and you got to figure that out. You got to figure out if you want to be a service advisor and you just want to do the things that keep the plan moving, as far as opening up accounts and sending paperwork and calling clients, things of that nature, kind of a relationship management role. Or do you want to be a rainmaker? Do you want to be out there, shaking the bushes, finding new clients and prospecting, and then letting somebody else handle that? There's so many different facets in this business. You need to probably spend, I would say, anywhere from 4 to 5 years at someone's firm working for somebody, either in the independent channel or in the captive channel, like with a broker dealer. Let somebody sponsor you and figure out for the first 4 to 5 years what you want to do. If you figure out that you want to own your own business and that's the way you want to go, or you want to work with somebody, not throwing any stones, it just depends. And you need to figure that out. Don't do yourself the disservice of coming out of college with possibly student loan debt and then trying to start your own business and serve clients. It's not the best thing for you, nor is it for the client. Make sure that you spend some time learning the business and figuring out what you want to do first. Woo! So hopefully that was helpful and that you enjoyed it. I think I've given you enough parameters of what it looks like in my life, and if you're interested in coming into the industry, some things to be aware of, or if you're looking at hiring somebody like me, some things to be aware of. So leave me a like or a comment below if this was helpful for you. I would love for you to subscribe to the channel and become part of the community, so please consider that. Otherwise, we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.